What's up, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Sit Down. As always, if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button and let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet, or you're living under a rock, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I don't want you to miss any other sit down video today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a mob interview. We're going to talk with an individual that I've gotten to know over the last week or two, and I've got to admit, I'm a bit fascinated by his story. He's the first person we'll speak to that was regularly around members of America's mafias throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I'm sure he'll get into his story. We're going to talk to Bonanno Crime Family associate, Frank Fiordilino. Frank, what's happening? How you doing?
Hey,
buddy?
what's up, bud? What's going on? What's going on, Jeff?
Good to
Quite the
meet you.
introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, Frank, I got to know you through Tom LaVecchia. I got to know your story. I find you to be contrite in what you say. Obviously, there's an epidemic right now of different proportions on YouTube. It involves people that some of which don't want to tell the truth, some people that do tell the truth, some people that are hard to be believed. But I always found you to be contrite. I wanted to get you on and talk to you. Look, I'll admit I've never talked to an informant on my show. I don't have any bad blood with them. I have no issue with anybody. I try to hear the story, and I don't dislike or like anybody. I have to admit, I like you a little bit. You seem like a nice guy, and you seem pretty
Well, thank you.
sorry for your crimes. I'll admit right out of the gate, Frank, when I saw you, I said, there's no way this guy's Italian. Frank does not look Italian at all, but he's about as Italian as it gets.
Yeah, I'm Sicilian.
Yes. You're from Castellamare del Golfo, right?
That is correct.
Tell me about your childhood, Frank. You were born in Sicily, right?
I was born in Sicily. My memories of Sicily at that age were zero because I came in when I was 2, and I've said this before. We lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn for about 7 years, and then Ridgewood. We moved to Ridgewood when the neighborhood started everything started burning down. Down south they call it white flight, whatever. I don't mean to sound, but the neighborhood was changing.
Right. And we've seen areas of Brooklyn like Bushwick, Brownsville, East New York, all those places become more, different, black neighborhoods or whatever, either or. But Bushwick in, the 70s, for instance, that's where, Joe and Mary's, that's where Galante got whacked. 79.
That would be 79, August of 79. That's that famous Carmine Galante hit. That's Bushwick. But at the neighborhood, at that time, the neighborhood was deteriorating. And, we had the blackouts of 77, the looting in the Bed-Stuy border and of Bushwick. And a lot of people got scared and moved out. And then the neighborhood turned prominently Puerto Rican after that within the 80s.
So growing up, you come here as a young child, obviously you settle in kind of an Italian area, as we know. I mean, New York is littered with Italian areas in that time. There's a mob presence everywhere. Your family was very connected in the mob, though, right? As far as uncles, cousins, pretty much everybody you knew. Did you know anything about when you started to grow up? Did you know anything about that? Did you realize that your family were different as far as, I guess, not in your grand scheme of things, in your neighborhood, yes, normal, but you didn't have a normal family, I guess you could say.
Normal. I mean, there was food on the table. My dad provided. My mom was, she was a house mom, and all the things. We had a respect for moral law. You know what I mean? But we definitely didn't trust authorities. I always say that because my parents came from a time where they come from a country at the time growing up that was right wing, the fascists and all that. So we didn't trust authority, and that carried over to the United States as well.
So your uncle was a made guy in the Bonanno crime family.
Yeah, I had 2 uncles that were made in the and a couple of cousins, and I still do in the Bonanno family. My uncle John in the 60s, then my uncle Cheech in the 70s, and I had a cousin, Tony Giordano, who was allegedly involved in the Galante murder.
He was a driver, right?
He was the driver, correct?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So Tony was a very unique individual. He's one of the, I mean, if you want to give a bio about somebody who was very interesting, and his life turned around, kind of like Michael Corleone in a sense. In the 70s, over a parking spot dispute. He was punched in the eye by some guy named Mike the Boxer in Bushwick, and he owned a mechanic shop. My cousin did, and Mike the Boxer one day was going home and he got killed, and it was always alleged that Tony had went from this guy who knew how to build planes, motors, kind of nerdy, to this really, really mad individual, you know, smart, very smart.
If I'm correct in history, he died in a plane crash, right?
He died in '84 in a plane crash. He was 40 years old.
It was the first time
gotten paralyzed.
Flown.
I'm sorry?
Wasn't it the first time he had flown or something?
No. He flew already. He built that plane.
He was a big into like pilot stuff.
Aviation, sky. He used to sky pilot and all that stuff. Really, really intellectual individual. Like I said, if he doesn't get into the mob, that punch in the eye changed his life forever. Right. Mind you, his family was connected too. His dad, his uncles, and everything like that. My grandmother was a Giordano, so in that side, on my dad's side, so he was also connected, but he could have went another way as well.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Well, he gets paralyzed in that 3 captain hit.
Yep.
I don't know if you are familiar with that. When the 3 captains, the Bonannos, it was documented, and then in the movie, the Donnie Brasco movie, whatever, which is half of it's full of shit. But back to Tony, he got paralyzed and he got shot accidentally by God. I could say who it was now because he's not around no more. Nicky Santora.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, he was he accidentally shot him.
Yeah, and friendly fire, right?
It was friendly fire. I mean, you don't get shot by accident. One of those things. You get 10 bullets. You either live or you get one shot. Well, they sent him to this doctor at the time at our house. He used to do that stuff in our neighborhood. His name was Dr. Solano. He's dead now. He was around the Knickerbocker area. They tried to take the bullet out. He said, "I can't do nothing about this. This is really bad. This ain't the regular bullet on your leg and shit like that." And he went to the hospital. Cops came there. He said, "Yeah, I just got shot. Friendly, I don't know where." Real stand up. And years later, after he died, I was talking to Nicky about it. Me and Nicky used to hang out a lot. Me and Nicky Santora. He goes, "Yeah, I couldn't take that back." You know, he would talk in a roundabout way about it, but he would talk about it. He would even talk about Tony's mom going to the house. And my Aunt Maria, that his mom, she was American. And what made her unique was that even though she was American, she didn't like Italian Americans. She didn't trust them. And she would, you know, they would be like, "Stop now," you know. And Nicky would talk about that all the time. She had red hair. It was kind of funny. And Nicky said, yeah, he felt bad, but Tony being the guy, he understood the life. That's what happened. He got depressed after that. You know, people weren't coming to the house anymore, seeing him, his friends. You know, there was a guy I was around later, Vito Guzzo. Tony's sister went up to him and said, "Hey, you know, why don't you come see my brothers, you guys? You know, he's pretty depressed. You know, he doesn't see you guys no more." And he kind of died of a broken heart, you know?
Yeah, that's a shame.
I know people might say, I don't feel bad for him. He was involved in a triple homicide, but,
right.
You know, there's.
Well, he had feelings too, and he obviously was in a bad place. And look, ultimately, the way he died was very, very tragic, obviously. So your family, you know, there's obviously a lot of connection there, and you're part of the wing of the family that, if we know anything about the Bonanno family, there was a large Sicilian faction, right? There were many people that came up, and we'll talk about one or two of those as we go on. But you obviously have that in your blood. When do you start kind of moving around in those circles? Because I'm sure, like any mother and father or family, they tried to say, go do something else. Did they ever say?
I mean, me more than others. My brothers, they came here young, and there was a lot of the translation was lost on them, and it was a little bit difficult. So they had a little bit of a rough start with the language. Mm-hmm. So I did not have that. I was lucky. My parents put me through. My mom especially wanted the best education. I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic high school. But at the same time, I fell into them inner circles where didn't want to go. It wasn't an academic issue. It was just a delinquent issue, and that's more or less the more I was staying away from the school scene and all that, I was running into like the more of the hoodlum scene, and most of the kids that I grew up with in Ridgewood later on, like in my 12, 13, in my teen years, they were also in the similar situation. Dads were connected, uncles were connected, cousins. They came from Bushwick, they moved over. And we started just thinking like our family members.
You didn't want to miss anything either, right? I mean, you don't want to leave the corner. It's better to be outside than in school. And that was what you knew. You knew it best. And that's why I never knock someone that goes into that life, because that's what they're trained to do, basically. It's hard to get away from the streets, especially when you see people you're very close with, they're making money, they seem happy. Why wouldn't I want to do that? That's why I don't fault any of these people that do what they do. I can't say it because I didn't grow up like that, but I can understand.
Right.
So you start getting into these circles. Who are your core people? Did they, you mentioned people that you would become friends with. Did they become lifelong friends and you both went into the life, as you call it?
I guess when my uncle Frank Navarro, who's my mother's brother, starts realizing that I really don't want school, he starts putting me in places that that he feels comfortable for me being at, and my brothers as well. My other brother really wasn't. I have a middle brother that was like, you know what, I really don't need the bullshit. I'll do my own kind of thing. And my older brother and I were always around my uncle a lot. And he, for example, he ran a baccarat game. He put me at the door, and I worked at the door. Not in that order. I think I was serving coffee. Yeah, I actually was serving coffee first, and then working at the door later on, as I got older. And my brother was lending out money at the game, so that's what he was doing. That was one of his charges. It's not like I'm saying anything out of that people didn't know. And that's little by little we got involved with that. I wanted more. At one point I was hanging out with individuals that wanted more. And that's, the farm team kind of thing comes along. You know what I mean?
And when we talk about farm teams, obviously throughout the 80s, there were many of them. The Bath Avenue Crew, the Cafe Giannini, Tanglewood Boys, New Springville, all these different groups are popping up. For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, they were basically young hoods, let's call them, that were doing things on the street for these families, or there's Lucchese's, Bonannos, Gambinos, whatever. So you're moving around in Ridgewood. Obviously, the big crew over there, you got Cafe Giannini, Baldo's running Cafe Giannini, Baldo Amato. He's
not running. He has a relative of his running it.
His
family. You know whose place it was, correct? Basically, we're all around a certain individual. Like, for example, there's some kids that are around Patsy Conti, the Sicilian faction, the kids I grew up with, and then there's other kids that were around the Nicky Carrazzo. One kid was. And there was Vito that was around Patsy Catalano. And then there was me that was around my uncle. And then later on, Vito Grimaldi. So those were we were looking to get into that life. So what kind of like becomes the turning point is the killing of one of our own. One kid gets killed. We hung out with, Ralphie Shula, who was around Bobby Glasses a lot. He was kind of like he was an earner. He was an earner at a young age. He was about in his 20s, and he was starting to make money, but he didn't really respect alliances, and he was starting to get a little too big-headed. But for argument's sake, he started wanting to do his own things, disrespecting. And the thing with him was his father, his family was not really in the mob. And the only connection really that he had was the only person he would be kissing ass to, and that was Bobby at the time. And he was starting to ruffle a lot of feathers at one time. And I remember, as a kid, when you want to make that step for your first killing or anybody, and you ask anybody from Sammy to anybody, it's always going to be you want a statement, and you want somebody to kill to say that now you're able, or you're this and that. And Ralphie was one of the first statement killings that came out of the Giannini Crew. And he died. They found him in his trunk. They pumped some in him, and it was a jealousy issue, but it was a thing that was stewing over 6 months. It was always tit for tat. Vito hated him. Vito ended up killing him, and after that, other guys were doing other things to establish themselves with their people and even within their friends.
And when you say Vito, you're talking about Vito Guzzo, right?
Vito Guzzo, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah,
So Vito
that's
is,
right.
you know, there was a lot written about Vito. He's doing a long stretch right now. He is your basically the glorified. Would you say leader of the group? Let's say. Would you?
No.
Okay.
No. The group had cliques. I said this before. He was the most influential, and then very influential. You know, if he said something that ruffled everybody's feathers, everybody was on the on pins and needles. I would say Paul was for a while until we got older, and he had his own little clique too. That would be Paul Ragusa. And then it shifted to like me and my friends. We had our own guys, you know.
So it's interesting. You all kind of reported to someone different. That's kind of interesting. I actually didn't know that.
We all kind of reported to nobody really.
But you had
we tried that.
You had like your skipper kind of in a way.
Right? Yeah. We did, and as we got older, and you know, guys started going to jail. It's like for example, I started with my uncle. I didn't have that report. I couldn't. It was like walking on eggshells. I couldn't tell him to do anything. He had his money. He had a lot of it too. He wasn't gonna let me do fucking zero. Mm-hmm. Okay, I could have stopped at that if it was up to my uncle in the criminal aspect. You know, there was people online before me. It's hard to explain. It's just who it was. It just makes me aggravated even thinking about it. Back to him. But when I got older, and these guys ended up getting locked up when I was 25 or 26. The majority of the Giannini Crew, the 96 indictment, and I started going around Vito Grimaldi, and I kind of left my uncle in a sense. According to my uncle, it was okay, and Vito said, you know, you mind if I use it? And my uncle told him, use them for whatever the fuck you want to use them for. You know, we just didn't see eye to eye. Once the money got, he called me a terrorist. He thought I was fucking too wild. And I started hanging out with him, and he actually taught me Cosa Nostra. Vito Grimaldi did. He took his time. He knew what he was dealing with. He gave me breaks. He knew when you know things wasn't all right. He'd let me know, and he kind of like guided me towards that.
What kind of things was he teaching you?
He was old fashioned. I mean, I hear stories of I'll give you an example. Sammy talking about Tato, same thing. Watch the hands. Last thing you're gonna do, use your hand. Use your hands if it's the last. You know, if somebody touches you, that's different. That kind of stuff. Talk about the old stories. You know, moral law. What's not moral? Who's not gonna tell me what to do? Very kind of biblical in a lot of ways.
He ran a bakery, right?
Yeah. He has one of the best bakeries in New York City, actually. One of the most popular ones. Good stuff. You know, when I I haven't been in New York in a while. Probably I ain't gonna pass by there by no means.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Let me ask you when it comes to this, right? So you're coming up in the game. You're learning stuff. What kind of things are you doing in the streets? You talked about games and baccarat, card games and stuff. What kind of things were you doing?
Well, I'll get back to you. So like my uncle, he would, if he needed me to go break fucking windows, burn a car or something like that, that would be fine. But if he needed me to go fucking have a couple of machines somewhere, make money and earn, never happened. You know, that's just the way he was. He just, you know, he was an opportunist. And it was different with Vito. He gave me an opportunity, but I was in a frame of mind of, you know, like of being a money guy. You know what I mean? But I was able to do anything. And to be back to Vito, to be fair to him, he didn't need no strong arms either. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He wasn't that guy. He is, but not. I've never heard him talk about doing any work or anything like that.
So you're telling me basically that your uncle Frank, he wouldn't let you deal with any money related things. He was only you
Yeah,
were only interesting. Now let me ask you, I'm always fascinated by so a young kid like
he
yourself.
was very critical. He was very
Wow.
um very fast to his opinion. Oh, I tell you, I have an older brother. My older brother would come into a place and he would talk about me for about 20 minutes. My brother would leave and then he'd do the same thing about my brother for 20 minutes. And he would just do that shit all the fucking time. It became old after a while, exhausting.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
let me ask you something. So
Typical
you're
zip move.
right. You're doing all this stuff. What kind of money are you making, right, with this kind of thing?
I wasn't an earner. I tell everybody that. I was fucking
You were just
I like I got to the point where I would do anything to do whatever I had to do. I'm not into didn't do drugs. Okay. I think I tried cocaine for the first time when I was 29. That was because I was hanging out with a couple of strippers. And I didn't even know because I drank, you know what I mean? Okay, next thing, but I smoked weed maybe 5 times in my life, so I was a drinker though, and I still drink now and then, but I wasn't, it's just, I don't know. I was in a mindset. See, everybody was dying at a young age. Everybody died in my family young. I knew that that was a part of life, but I also was aware at a very young age, it didn't have to be naturally. My brother died when I was 7. And I'm not trying to have no fucking kumbaya moment right now. I've been to mob funerals at least by the time I was 12, at least 5, 6. I don't know if it was about a babysitter issue or it just was a respect issue. Yeah, get your ass over there. That's so and so. So I figured once I got into it deep, what the fuck? Either I'm gonna get killed, everybody else does, or end up in jail, and I did.
So you had basically accepted by the time that you had gotten into doing associate type of things that you had two ways out. It was you're going to die or you're going to go to jail. You were okay with that. You had kind of
Yeah,
realized.
yeah, absolutely, without a doubt,
Okay.
without a fucking doubt. It was just where I was, and even I tell everyone when I was in jail, I was fine. Jail was okay. It wasn't bad. I think the lack of respect from a lot of people out there. I don't want to say who, but some family members, I'll put it that way, couldn't even come up with $5,000 for my lawyer after I extended all my lawyer fees. After they would ask me to do 100 fucking things, and they know who they are. It's not even worth fucking going into. But I mean, I'm talking about multimillionaires, by the way.
Right. They were
And
stingy.
what that was in it. Everybody has a fucking reason. At the end of the day,
Hold on. I don't want you to tell me yet why you did what you did. I want to get
yeah.
to a point.
Well, I don't. Well, that's the whole thing. Everybody, the time is probably 80% of it. After you weigh it in, you're like, all right, well, fuck it. I get deported, and I do 27 years. I'll still be in jail talking to you. Wow, and then I get deported.
Right. So it was a lose-lose situation for you.
Yeah, and the other thing too was, I mean, the guys I was testifying against, it was all about gambling.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't bring no heavy shit to their murders. If it was for my testimony or my information, I don't think they would even been indicted.
Interesting. So
I gave it structure and I gave it whatever. So it was like, okay, let's go for it.
right.
I would have definitely, I said this before, I would definitely have a problem with somebody sitting in jail still because of me.
So you're saying basically none of the people that you involved in your testimony, they would have been out by now. They went to jail for other crimes that they.
Well, yeah, they went to jail for murders. Like Joe Massino, 8 murders. I had nothing to do with the testimonies. Baldo, 2 testimonies. No, two bodies. I had no knowledge of those bodies at all.
You just added to some of the crux of the indictment.
Right, the racketeering indictment. Yeah, I added to it. Yeah, but what I added to those 3, I'm not rationalizing. I say this all the time. A rat's a rat's a rat. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But if like for example, in my murder I was involved in, nobody got arrested. Well, they did, but they ended up cooperating. One guy wore a wire, the other, it's just they put him to work, but nobody's doing life or anything like that. The only people it was Barlow doing life, yeah, because he had 2 murders and his friends and the family put him away. Richie Canarella, Robert Frank Lino, not Robert. Robert took his held his mud. But yeah.
So the issue you're talking about is you would ultimately in the early 90s be involved in taking someone's life, correct?
I was.
Can you tell me about that?
I don't really like to talk about that. I kind of like leave that out of it. I will eventually when the time comes. Like I said, this is probably the last interview I'm going to give for a while. I got other things coming. I find you interested in my stuff. That's why I'm on it. If I don't like somebody, I'm not going to give an interview.
You're not going to do it. Okay.
No, not at all. 100%.
So let's just say this: an individual died. That came out in court. We know about that.
It was.
Are you told to do that? How does that happen?
What do you mean? How did I get caught?
No, like why did you do it?
It was a convenience. It was part money, 90% wanting to do it because I wanted that. It's part of that enhancing myself to the
right. You're trying to elevate yourself. I got it.
Of course, I want people to know that I'm able. I had no problem shooting people. So or even stabbing. So I didn't have a problem with that. I had a problem with putting a gun into somebody who went to work every day. But somebody who is that could have been me. It was all is fun, all is fair in that life. I didn't mind. Not that I'm. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be taken out of text. I'm not trying to say that I like killing people. That's serial killer shit. I said I didn't mind, going that route. That was just part of the life. It's not a big part of the life. In a movie, it's in 2 hours you see what 12 fucking bodies. In a mob indictment, you'll see that in 25 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I just want to ask one other thing about this individual. According to the indictment, he was a drug dealer. This person. Did you know him?
That's right. I met him maybe once or twice.
Okay. So it was not over like things he was doing. This just happened. Okay.
It was part of taking what he had and
right.
not really giving a fuck about. You see, you gotta everybody does it in the mob. Everybody wants they want to get their feet wet. They're gonna pick a soft spot unless somebody in the mob says, "Hey, we're gonna go do this." Either it be 15 years old, 16 years old. In my case, 21. You're always gonna look for that soft spot to get in. You're not gonna go fuck. You're not dumb. You're not gonna go fucking shoot some mobster's kid.
Sure.
That's repercussions even my uncle couldn't get me out of.
It's interesting to hear your story because like you talked about your cousin Tony, right? And he was involved with things and he kind of was just like you, except like 15, 20 years before. And it's interesting how the dominoes fall.
He was a lot smarter than I was. I'm not that smart.
Like you kind of went the same way as far as you were involved in stuff. You made your way through the life, and you then kind of advanced. And he may have taken a different kind of trajectory than you, but it's interesting that all these different generations.
Well, things were a lot easier when he was around. Making money was a lot easier, and getting away with things were a lot easier as well. I'll give you an example. You get a guy like fucking Vito Guzzo who goes to jail at 28, 29. I think 29. I think he was yet 30. Now, you get a guy like Sammy who had a lifespan up to 44 years old, right? You put Vito on the streets for an extra 13, 14 years. 2 touchdowns, right? 14 points. What do you get? You're going to get a lot of more bodies. It's just that, the surveillance was a lot better. The cops were onto a lot of other shit too. And it was a different ball game. Imagine Vito was around in the 70s.
Oh yeah, he'd have been. I've actually gotten shit because I've said, what if Gene Barella was around in the 70s or 80s? I think.
We talked about that. He'd definitely be killing people. He reminds me of a lot of a kid I grew up with, Anthony Tabita.
Okay.
Gene reminds me a lot of him. Anthony had gotten 5 fucking bodies like drinking a glass of water. He went, he ended up flipping. but they had the same kind of I don't give a fuck mentality. Just snap and then go, hey, what the fuck you doing? You know, you had to talk to them, and they remind me a lot of each other.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard certain people related to him and just like making connections that it seems to be kind of connected to some pretty crazy people because he was a bit of a lunatic. Let me ask you, Joey Massino. Obviously, he's a very big name in that family. He took the family through a lot of tough times. I've said before,
Sure.
and maybe you'll agree. When it comes to Cosa Nostra, before Joey Massino cooperated, we can make the case he's probably one of the truly most underrated bosses ever. He did a lot of good things for that family as far as taking them through a lot of different struggles. Rastelli was in jail. He kind of took them through the Donnie Brasco stuff and the three capos and all this different thing. First question I have about you were a little young for the Donnie Brasco stuff. Do you remember that situation? What was that like in those neighborhoods?
No, I actually no, I don't. I don't remember that and you know, growing up around the Sicilian guys, they didn't talk about anything. I was young. I was fucking what was I, 14?
So you're still pretty young. Yeah, I guess that's the early 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah. I've heard of the story. You know, year by year pieces have come out, you know, like Nicky Santora. I must have seen that guy twice. He's in pictures and going to Florida with him. He said he only seen him twice, you know. I'm like, yeah, sure. Who cares? You know, it's funny.
When did you
I got the best Nicky Santora story ever. You want to hear a good one?
Yeah, tell me about him.
So they're filming the Donnie Brasco film, and Nicky's out of jail. So we used to hang out in this bar, and we took a liking to each other. He was a funny guy. So it was on Metropolitan, Greenpoint and Ridgewood, this bar. And Anthony Rubito would be there, and there was another guy, Sally Bush, another guy who was made in the Bonanno Family. It was his bar, and we're going in there, and he's just hitting the bar. I go, "What's wrong, Nick?" He goes, "These motherfuckers. Did you see that movie?" I said, "Which one?" He goes, "To Donnie Brasco." I said, "No. What happened?" These motherfuckers got me as a rat. You see, at the end, they go kill Nicky, that piece of shit.
Yes.
And they kill him, and he's pissed. He wants to sue.
Bruno Kirby plays him.
Plays his part, correct. Yeah. Bruno Kirby does. So I go to him, "Why you pissed off?" And I didn't say why you pissed off. Obviously, I knew why he was pissed off. And he goes like this motherfucker. I said, "Why would he do something like that?" He goes, "Because when they were on fucking, he tried to get money off of them. So they were in Greenpoint filming. So he's telling them, you're going to have to fucking pay me from now on from doing this shit." And they were like, "Okay, all right, we will." And then at the end, fucking, they had him looking like a rat.
Well, you know, it's funny you brought.
He was no rat.
No, of course not. It's funny you brought that story up because John Cirasani, do you know him? Booby Cirasani?
Booby? No, I didn't know him.
He actually sued Donnie Brasco for their.
He did. He got money. I don't know if he got money over it, but he did.
He ended up. They threw the lawsuit out because of his behavior on the streets, and the judge basically said, "You're a gangster. We're not, you know."
Right. And Nicky was trying to sue Casino, even though he had nothing to do with the fucking thing. But yeah. He was just
because of the name.
He was a prokester for a reason. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he tried to sue them also. He was always talking about that. I'm telling you, he was a funny guy. If you didn't, you could have went to the bar you hung out with, and they wouldn't have made you for cops. They just didn't give a fuck who was around. And you could have hung out and listened to him while he was at the bar. You know, one arm at the bar and the other. He used to drink Glenlivets, and he was quite a character, man. He was great.
Is he aware though that it was Santoro, not Santora?
I don't know. He probably babbled over drinks or something, but I mean, yeah. Shit, he was funny.
When do you first meet Joey Massino? Tell me about that.
I'm okay. So I didn't have much interaction with him on the outside. I've met him a couple of times, but I didn't think he even fucking knew who the fuck I was because everybody meets him. So I met him with my uncle, and I was with actually a guy that's made right now. We were going and you know, he goes, "This is my nephew and his friends." And I met him, and he was with Tony Green that day because my uncle used to hang out in his coffee shop. And then I met him again at Casablanca twice, actually. Once with Louis Restivo, who was his manager at the place, also a captain in the family, who was my uncle's captain at one time. And another time with Vito Guzzo.
What's he like?
Not introduced, but he said hello because I had known him.
Is he a jovial guy? That's what I've heard.
Who?
Joey Machine.
Joe? Yeah. Once I was in jail, he came up to me. Right away, we were in the same indictment. So he came up to me, goes, "Oh, you're Cheech's my uncle. You're Cheech's nephew." And then from there, we just every time we seen, we talk for hours, whatever.
I'm gonna rib you.
How is he?
Real quick, didn't you screw up his? Didn't you make him lose his home? I heard.
Yeah. Okay. So he gets a $13 million forfeiture, and through the witch sect units, there's 6 of them now. Bonanno guys can't be with each other if they have had any kind of interaction with each other. They can, but it's like if they try to avoid that. It's got to be if they didn't know each other at all, and you know you'll run into somebody now and then, but not if you're in the same cases or in the same indictment. So he goes around. He told this Colombian guy in New York City, one of these cartel guys that he was in Witsec unit with, that I was responsible. And he told Frank Salemi that too. That I was responsible for $13 million forfeiture because of my testimony on all fucking of his gambling shit. I said, motherfucker. I said, I wasn't the one who was responsible for you losing your fucking money. All your buddies, the ones you used to fucking hang out in Casablanca with, who testified right after you was responsible for that. I mean, what the fuck, you know?
And this centered around a game that someone ran. We'll just say it, Bobby Glass.
It was a baccarat game that was a seasonal baccarat game that was run for 30 years. That was held at. He decided to hold it in his. That's how greedy he was in the building he owned.
To do that,
because
what a wild move to put it in his home. That's kind of
he had a guy, Sandro, captain in the Bonanno family, who had a coffee shop underneath. He was doing really bad, so he figured by bringing customers to the place, this guy could pay him rent, and if this guy pays him rent, his house could still stay in function. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It paid for itself. It was like just money. Everything's money. So he did that, and the game went there. We got busted. And when we got busted at that game, there was Bobby Glass's dad, me. There was a Fed guy who I ended up becoming cool with. I tell everybody, a lot of mob guys feel that they become friends with G-Men. It doesn't work that way. It's a professional relationship. You know, they're like, oh, we're like buddies. I go, no, you're not. So this guy, you know, they're writing all these fucking posters with our names on it. Now, my name is a 10-letter name. It's not easy to spell. I know friends that know me for 30 fucking years that know how to spell it. So it's like a mugshot, but with your name on it, and the feds all have it. And this motherfucker, I mean, I shouldn't be calling him because he's a cool guy. I'm not going to give a shout out to him, but he spells my name like it was his name. And he looked like he was somewhere from Idaho. You know what I'm saying? I was like, fucking that. And I look at him, I go, that was pretty fucking. He had me under the radar. He was the guy who was tailing me.
So he had been tailing you. How long was he tailing you? Do you know?
Close to. He arrested my buddy, and he had and I remembered his last name. He shares this last name with a famous Newsday journalist.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say. And he arrested my buddy on a murder that. A conspiracy to murder, which I mean, he didn't call the shot. He arrested him, and I remember reading my friend's papers that he wore a microphone. So my friend was saying, you know, he was talking back to him, and my friend was saying stuff like, you know, getting pissed at him. And I read the trend, and when he arrested me, I knew already he was wearing the same fucking thing, you know. So he was asking me, you know, typical shit, who your cousins are. Who's this? Who's that? Because they were going that way. They wanted to go to Operation Joe Massino at that point. And anyway, he knew my fucking name. He was telling me for about 2-3 years.
When they arrest you, okay, your first thought is you were going to go to jail? You were okay with that? What do you think running away when that happened?
Well, I always had the murder in the back of my head, and it was 9 years. You know, I got interrogated for that. I was leaving the crime scene of that murder, and it was kind of weird. When they came in, I pretended I was walking in like a regular customer. And I just leave it at there was so much blood in the place that I didn't have no blood on me. So they kind of were like on was he here? Was he there? Did they call him to be the guy who to clean up the thing? They couldn't figure it out. So they interrogated me for about 18 hours. And
what was
it
that
was
like?
Huh?
What was that like?
Yeah, New York, typical New York Police Department, 1993 bullshit. You know, you go over there. I got my lawyer. Your lawyer don't work on Saturday. Too fucking bad. That type of shit. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, you know. So I'm there. I said, well, I didn't do this. Well, we think you know stuff. And then they were showing pictures. You know these people now. Then they keep you there for another 2 hours and come back, just like the first 48. And then, the best is they bring a radio in. They go, oh, listen to this. It's going to be on 1010 Wins. You know, the murder. I said, just listen for it. I'm like this. Then I hear the two windows. You know, people try to identify you. Oh, that's a scumbag. Fuck him. I hear from the other side. You know, I'm like, oh, look at this shit.
Did
but
they
anyway,
try to, like, give you food and shit and try to get you to talk?
Fuck no, they didn't feed me at all. You know, they didn't feed me at all. But I wasn't giving them a hard time. I was trying really hard. They knew me because they came looking for Vito one time. They go, you know this guy? And obviously it was at Giannini's. I said, yeah. Because he'd been around. I said, no, he was there about 3 hours before. I was like, nah, I haven't seen him in a while. It had nothing to do with him. It had to do with some guy that they thought he might be hiding. It was the same homicide cop. So they recognized me from that. So they thought I was some kind of just flunky, you know what I mean? Like, hey, go clean up the scene. But, you know, I was actually the shooter in that case. So, yeah. So basically, they're done. I walk out. And I tell the guy, you know, I look at him. I said, I'm sorry I couldn't help you. And I hope you find your guy. He goes, well, here's a card. If you hear anything, let us know. I said, okay, I will. And I got right on the fucking plane and went to the West Coast.
So you ran. Interesting.
Yeah, fucking ran. Yeah, I ran until it died out, and then I came back.
Okay. How long were you on the lam for?
I think 7 months, 8 months.
Okay, pretty long.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get arrested, right? You know, at the end of all this.
Right, the same case by the feds. The feds pick it up.
What are you facing? What are your charges there?
It's murder in the act of racketeering. I had gambling charges. I had I'm not sure. I think an arson charge, and they were trying to get an attempted murder charge as well, and a conspiracy to murder charge that they were trying to threaten me with if I didn't take the plea.
So this was going to be, you know, probably life if you're convicted.
Yeah. No, it's not going to be. I was a level 43 category 2, which is, if you look at the federal guidelines, if you lose trial, is lights out.
So you're going to a USP. You're going away for life. That's that.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, sure.
So you get arrested. You go into the room. They sit you down. Okay, Frank, this is it. Blah 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 blah. What are you thinking at that point? Are you saying to yourself?
Well, they do the same shit, the same 9-2. You know, they send at the time. Joe Kane had gotten light, so the cops. It was the NYPD and the Fed Joint Task Force. I'm at the Fed building in downtown, and they go, "Hey, listen, you want to talk to us?" And because look what Joe went to trial, and look what happened to him.
And he's a friend.
I got nothing to talk about.
He's a friend of yours from Giannini, Joe Kane.
Yeah, Joe Kane. Yeah, yes. And I said no, and that's it. I was ready for trial.
They take you to MDC, right?
Yeah, the whole 9 yards, MTC, the 8th floor, orientation down, and then in general population with the rest of the guys.
Who was in there with you? Anybody we know?
At the time I got there, which mob guys? Alley Boy, Frank Campanella, Tony Masoto, Jackie DeRoss later on. Fuck, I'm trying to think. So on my floor. Spiro was on the other floor.
Okay.
Now on the whole building, who was there that I would see regularly? I would see Barney. I would see Peter Gotti.
Really? What was that?
Sonny Chacon. Yeah.
Talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
How you doing? How you doing?
Yeah. He sounds like Rodney Dangerfield. I know. I make all these fucking comparisons to Hollywood figures, But it is. It's like it kind of is. He was all he would do is bitch when I would see him when he was going to trial. When he was going to trial, he was going to trial on that Steven Seagal case with Sonny Chacon and Primo, who ends up flipping. And I run into Primo at the witch sec unit. I'm like, oh, how I see you here? You know, it's like we went the same direction. And they ended up Primo was on bail at the time, but when he gave himself in, he was in the witch sec unit. And I would see him in downtown Brooklyn while they were going to trial. And Pete would complain about his brother all the fucking time. That the reason they're in there is because they got big mouths. They're up there in McKean talking shit all the fucking time. Him and Caniglia, they got no. He would do that every time, like nothing was his fault. But yet, then you see him on the tapes. He plays a pretty good fucking gangster.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
definitely. And he was.
I got a funny story. So we used to go to Howard Beach and hang out with the girls. Sometimes I had friends in Howard Beach when we were in high school. I went to Christ the Kid, and one day we're at the with the diner there. I think it was the Blue Fountain Diner. It's such a long time. So we're there like 15, 16. And some kids are ready to fight. And here comes Pete. He was sitting down. You know, he's got to show who's his brother. You know what I mean? And he uses like this 50s terminology. He's like, hey, come on. You ready to rock and roll? This ain't the place to rock and roll. We all looked at him, just like started to fucking laugh. You know? Look at it. It's a big bopper.
I mean, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can't not look at him and like not chuckle, right?
He was a nice guy.
Yeah, he seemed like a jovial.
He really was a nice guy.
Fun, you know, and
Allie's not a big fan of the guys, but he liked him.
Alley boy, you're saying?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're inside MDC. When do you get the thought in your head, hey, I want to talk to somebody? When does that come to you?
All right. So it's about it's 5 to 6 days before trial, and my lawyers took kind of a liking to me, but it was like, oh, I don't know. I never trust them. I still didn't. They were they became pro bono. They were government lawyers. They had a good rapport with the government, and that shit always bothered me. And I tell everybody too, you know, you don't tell fucking lawyers the truth. You never do. They stop fighting for you. When the minute you tell them I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're caught with the fucking hand in the cookie jar, what are you gonna do? You're on tape. But like in my case, we didn't have no really smoking guns till the end. It pressured people. They were ready to talk, and that's why my plea bargain went up. And I knew that. I knew somebody was talking, but you just make them fight, and I didn't really feel comfortable with them. And they would come up to me. They came up to me on 2 different occasions, and they said that the government had spoken to them. And one time I chased them. I said, I don't want to hear that shit. And the second time I was like, I entertained it. I said, what do they want to talk about? And I've said this on the Lavecchia show. That's why I was like, so they want me to testify against Joe, who I hardly knew, over gambling shit, and I go home eventually one day. You know, it wasn't a plea. I know how it works. You know, a 5K1 letter is entered to a judge after you cooperate, right. and you do about 5 to 6 years. And if the judge feels like, hey, he gave up a lot, you get time served. I understood that. I understood it because it was going on a lot. And I was like, so I thought it was that simple. It wasn't. They wanted me again, 2 other trials, you know, and basically that's what happened.
So I guess
I was lucky. You know, there's a lot of individuals that, you know, probably made mistakes in their life. I wasn't one of them. I would have kept on making mistakes. You know, that fucking kid walks into a 7-Eleven, buys a gun, whatever, and he don't get that fucking opportunity. I get that. You know, I understand that. I'm very aware of that. And I was lucky, you know. But then again, you know, I had a lot. Put it this way, if Joe Massino don't talk, I'd be worried the rest of my life.
So you thought that the government was probably going to get you on that body. They thought you did, right?
I didn't. I after a while, 9 years. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck? So I was educating myself how it works. that double hearsay, no smoking guns. I knew who was involved, and I knew they were still on the streets. No, not really.
So
I was
why do
hoping
it?
when I got arrested, it was something fucking. I knew it was federal. Obviously, I seen the
Why
jacket.
cooperate then, Frank? You could have did a few years, right?
No, I didn't bring him the murder. I was charged with murder.
Well, no, so right, but they had to. There was their burden of proof to prove that you did the murder, right? You could have got off.
I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the lawyers. I had one lawyer that me and my accomplice was supposed to go half-half. Then my accomplice disappeared, nowhere to be found. I lost half my money on that. Then I got and I didn't have much money to begin with. Okay, so that was that. Did I have a chance to win? I say that, and the one fat guy I tell you about, he gets pissed at me. He goes, "Dude, you didn't have a fucking chance. Believe me." I go, "Well, I thought I did." He goes, "Why is that important now?" I said, "Well, I don't know, because if I would have had good lawyers, I probably wouldn't have got indicted. I don't know."
Do you think if the mob have treated you better, you wouldn't have did what you did?
There's
Like,
a
let's say
lot
they
of
gave
things
you
that
a,
no,
let's say they gave you a big
I'm not gonna go that route. I'm not gonna blame anybody for the reason I got treated fine, better than a lot of other people. Like I told Tom, I've done stupid shit. I was shooting people, I've stabbed people, I fucking done everything, and I've gotten passes just because of my family, who they were. So I'm not gonna blame it on them. Gotta blame it on myself and not wanting to do probably 27 years. That's what it comes down to. I'm not gonna do that.
You said at court that basically you're totally at peace with your decision to defect. I no longer have to lie, cheat, or pretend anymore. So would
Right,
you say
because
that, tell me about that?
that's the life. You got to lie all the fucking time. You never commit. They tell you to tell your friends the truth all the time, because sometimes the truth can kill you. You had to lie to anybody outside the realm. They lie to their wives all the fucking time. They lie to their kids. The cheating part comes with everything, robbing, stealing, whatever that comes with it. I was all part of that. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like somebody who found God. I haven't. You know what I mean? If religion makes you a better person, I'm all for it. But I'm not religious. Like some of these podcast guys out there, I get appalled by it. They should, if they are that religious, they should keep that shit to themselves. But I'm not that guy.
So,
hey, look, I'm pretty sure he'll find me one time if there's a God.
right, he definitely will. So you admit what you did. You admit that you're this and that. You admit that you cooperated. You're not going to try to sugarcoat and get behind it. You are what you are. You're okay with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's that to sugarcoat?
Exactly.
If you played a game, you get caught cheating, you cheated, right?
Right. And you'll say that it really came down to the fact that you didn't want to do 20-ish years in prison. That's pretty simple, right?
No, because that wasn't that was part of it. After I put everything together, and the other thing was they were going to deport my ass too. I'd still be being in jail. Me and you talking right now, I'll still be in jail right now as we talk, as we speak, and then I get deported. Yeah, and over what? A couple of gambling fucking I can say I was for it.
But see, Frank, the thing is, and people that are listening to this show, and I'm going to say it too, I'm going to ask you this. Why don't you just do the time for it then? If it's just a couple of gambling charges, that's nothing.
No. It wasn't my gambling charges. I testified on gambling charges on other guys,
right?
Not me. I had the murder on my back.
Right. And you also,
my plea was 27 years.
Right.
A plea.
Right. That's just a plea.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was just a plea. I go to trial, I get life.
And you're saying in the gambling charges, that was to the higher ups, let's say Joey.
No, I'm talking about people I testified against. Is there anybody today that's doing life because of me? People can say, Baldo. No, I didn't testify. I didn't give critical testimony to Baldo's doing life in prison.
Right.
Okay. I gave about me working in a coffee shop he owned with the machines.
Got you.
I'm not, listen, I'm not rationalizing. I'm just saying that if it was let's say my friend, my best friend, my cousin, or somebody I really like, and I had to put him away for 15, 20 years, I wouldn't have did it.
You wouldn't have.
No, fuck no.
You also told me
Believe that.
no, I do. I believe it. Sure. Let me ask you: was there ever going to be a situation where you would have never cooperated? Like, if let's say,
Yeah. If my uncle was still alive, I probably wouldn't have. And the reason why is because as much as I didn't like him, he would have put my mother through fucking hell. He was just had that much of a strong grip on my mom. And he just would that's his nature. He died before I got locked up, but I'm pretty convinced of that.
so you'd still be locked up today if you were still
Yeah.
around. You didn't want to put your mom through it. That's honorable.
Yeah, he would have put it through shit. Oh, it's just who he was.
Right. So, how long did you do? So you ended up getting, basically the 5K1 letter. How long did you end up doing after your
6 years.
how was that? Where were you? How was that experience?
It was fun.
It was.
It wasn't bad.
What do you do
I
every
did
day?
good jail time.
What do you do every day?
You get into a routine, wake up at 6, 7. I did a lot of running. At one point I was running 10 miles a day.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of basketball. I like basketball. We're talking about that. Working out, reading, read a lot. I picked up a book in a library one time on 100 of the most influential books ever written. And I covered them. There was everything from Richard Wright to Dickens to the Bible, the Quran. They never read the religious one. Too boring. And I read at least 40 of them in that time I was in there. I like to read case law too. I used to go to just like a true crime novel, not because I wanted to become a lawyer or anything like that. It was just interesting.
It was just interesting too.
It was, and I would read a lot of the supplement and all those other law books. But yeah, that was it. I always found there's a old expression when it comes to jail. Do time, don't let time do you.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it was okay. Even it wasn't bad at all.
So you get
It
out.
kind of preserved my life somewhat. I lost weight. I stopped smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drink for 6 fucking years. And you could drink in prison if you want.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was different, but it was cool.
Interesting. So you get out of jail. What year did you get out, by the way?
2008.
It's 2008. And I'm going to ask you this because I've heard about it. You reoffended after, right?
No, I didn't reoffend. I got into an incident that I will get into that eventually, and it's not as bad as it seems. It was
I understand
a situation which, and I'll just put it this way: it was a toxic relationship.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but it's kind of humorous thinking now back to it.
Were you in the program?
I was in the program for a while. I was doing really good in the program. It's just that it got old. I just didn't like the aspects of not going wherever I wanted to go. You have to stay where you're at. Mm-hmm. I didn't like. I felt like after I was done with parole, I was ready to get the fuck out of the program.
When you're
I was becoming that poster boy. It seemed like.
Do you have like an agent that sees you every day? How does that work?
No. The guy would see you once a month or whatever. And I had a very good rapport with every marshal I was with. I seen him once. Everything okay? Yeah. You doing good? Yep. And that was it. And I'll give you a good example. Henry Hill, for example, he was a fuck up. The guy is retired now. The guy who was my handler, he handled Henry Hill at one time, and he had told me that the guy he'd pick him up from jail like once every 2 weeks for something stupid, DUI, getting fucked up, getting fights, and that was at a time where there wasn't many of us cooperate rats, whatever the fuck. So they were giving him chance after chance after chance until he finally got kicked out.
So you're no longer in the program. You got out
No,
of
I
it.
got kicked out too, but it was a blessing.
Do you miss that life ever?
What, the mob?
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Do you miss New
No.
York?
I used to. I was all about New York. I love New York so much. I just like I said before. I mean, it was like I was I was total New Yorker. Everything about it, the sidewalks. I would go stir crazy. You put me like in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. I would go like, get me the fuck out of here.
Right.
Cow shit and all that. No, no. I wanted to be in a smoky bar and fucking neighborhood local. Now you couldn't get me there if you pay me. I've been back, but I don't like it.
Now I'm going to ask you something, and if you don't want to answer, it's fair. It's a personal
Sure.
question. Do you talk to your family at all?
No. No, I
No.
don't talk to my brothers at all. There's one person I talk to,
Do they
female
look?
member of my family. Huh?
Is that a reason? Is that because of?
Yeah. Totally different, and I'm fine with it too. It's getting to the point. I really don't like to talk about it because I really have like ill feelings towards these people in my family. I just don't really like getting into it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, it's definitely about where my position is today.
are you happy now?
I am. I'm totally happy. I got this. I got different friends. Like I told Tom on the other interview, I got friends that I probably wouldn't have had. I not probably wouldn't have had a lot of military friends, and it depends where I live. I live in two different places, and when I'm in one, I have geek friends on one side, and I have fucking crazy ass military, ex-military fucking on the other. So it gives me a medium. It's good actually when I get away from them because I could go relax.
Do any of your group of friends know who you are and what you did?
They all do. I don't like that. Remember the part about I don't like to lie and cheat no more.
Yeah,
And
you're
I
pretty
don't
honest.
use it as they. I've lost friends because who I am. They're like, whoa, what the fuck? But most of them are cool with it. I know them for a long time now. I've been out since '08.
Yeah, it's been 12 years.
Yeah, so I'm part of the family, and we always hang out. I got family, and we do family things together. We're cool. The the West Coast side of my family is not too cool about it. Some of them are, they're different. They're not as wired as the ones
Yeah, and remember, I mean,
in the South.
out in, and I've talked to an individual recently that was in prison for a long time, and he talked about how when he went to jail, he didn't know anything about the mob. Like he's from the West Coast, like he didn't know about New York, and because so wherever you go in different parts of the country, they don't know that much about
No. No, they don't. At one part in one part I still live around where I was at one time in the West Coast.
Mhm.
And there was like this crime family that everybody thinks they're a crime family because on Wikipedia they come out as a crime family. So I met these two individuals that used to like bring topless dancers from like Canada all the way down to
I think I know who you're talking about
to the United States. And I said, you were part of that family?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, man. They're in the mob, I'm like, these guys are two fucking assholes. Who the fuck gonna get scared of you? And they were like, here's a rat telling their crime family guys that they're fucking idiots.
Right. Yeah, it's funny how some of these cities, like, they're really just a couple of guys that may have strip clubs.
I think you know who I'm talking about
I do.
I think
I do know who you're talking about. Yeah.
because you actually wrote about that stupid family.
I did a video about it. I actually talked about the fact that they're not a mafia. They're just
they're vendors. They had a lot of pimp.
They're just Italian guys, and
I don't know if they're Italian. Shit, they're Italian, fucking 1800s Italian. Yeah, they're just they like to play the part. So there's a lot. If you're familiar with that area, it's a lot of UFC things going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So they like to go to the UFC gyms.
Yeah.
Get these two fucking white bread looking motherfuckers and act like they're it's bullshit. It's all dog and pony.
That's funny. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one other question about, and if you don't want to answer, that's fine. Do you ever do you date? Do you have any significant other? Do you tell them about this stuff or no?
Who?
Like do you tell, like when you meet somebody new, let's say?
No.
You You just
No,
kind of tell them
no.
who you are.
After a while, we laugh about it. I have a friend. I have a couple of friends of mine that are ex-Navy SEAL guys. We fuck around. I said, tell me a couple of stories. I'll tell you. Well, we just fuck around. At one time they were like, yeah, right. You're not supposed to tell anybody you're in the fucking program. I go, why? You supposed to tell people you were ex-Navy SEALs, assholes?
Right.
Yeah. We do that.
Interesting.
They're older, not older my age. They're my age because the Navy SEAL life is not that, doesn't expand that much.
Right.
A lot of Marines, a lot of Navy people. So that's my friends. You know what I mean?
Final question: are you happy?
I got a lot of friends in college basketball.
No
that
shit.
I've met. Yeah, a good friend of mine was a coach, and we're good friends.
I'm a big college basketball guy.
Yeah, he got kicked out for we had a lot of fun together. Yeah, but he's a good guy. He works on TV now.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Final question on all this: you're happy with your decision that you made? You hold no punches about who you are.
Yeah, because I don't think I hurt too many fucking people. That's one. I'm happy because I'm out of the fucking, I'm out of that life. I don't hate the life. I miss a lot of my old friends. I really fucking do. There's a couple of guys. I'll tell you one thing. There's like I went to. This is, documented. There was one friend. I told him specifically. I said I will never testify against him and my asshole brothers because out of principle, And they gave me immunity on my brother, but they said we'll promise you that ain't gonna happen. I said, well, I'm just telling you right now. I said, I'm not anybody else. I don't give a fuck, whatever. But I'm not gonna testify against this one individual friend of mine. And the one guy that I was telling you about, the Fed, goes, well, doesn't he have a clause that because he had been arrested already? Doesn't he have a clause that he can't get arrested for anything else if he takes his whatever years? I said, don't matter. I said, you put him in front of me, I'll go back for fucking life. You know what I mean? Not that we have anything fucking huge, but that's where it is. And even whatever, my brothers. And that's where we were at that. They couldn't give immunity to. They one because we didn't have nothing to do with each other. One of my brothers, we just hated each other all fucking life, so that was easy. But it stood at that.
Interesting. Final thing I'll say: you made a comment as far as loyalty and respect. I never saw it. I can recall hundreds of conversations where guys would sit around a table and badmouth each other. I'm so glad that's behind me.
Well, yeah, you ever watch it? Analyze this.
Yeah.
When the guys, the comedy, when they come in and they go, hey, that's whoever Joe. How's it go? Hey, Joe, how you doing? How are you? He's with so and so. Scumbag.
Yeah, right.
That shit happens all the fucking time.
Interesting.
All the time. They'll spend hours talking about a motherfucker. When Frank, he comes in, hey, come have a drink.
Speaking of that, expand on that. I want to ask you a question about people that you got to know over the years. Who was the nicest person you ever encountered in that life? A good guy?
There's a lot. There was a lot of nice guys. And if they weren't nice, they just didn't bother with me. Nice guys, fuck. When I mean bother me, they just didn't talk or whatever. Oh, fuck. One of the nicest guys. Probably Bobby Glasses was one of the nicest guys. Man, let me tell you, you'd have kids hang out in this place. You always hear about them 2 murders that happened at the bar, whatever. Yeah. I didn't know nothing about that, but nobody ever talks about. You hear in life you do 99 things right, and that one thing you do wrong, everybody's gonna remember you for.
Mm-hmm.
That's the case with him. He was just a genuine, nice fucking guy. There was kids that would hang out there. If they weren't having B's and A's, he'd tell them to go home. He wanted to see their report cards. He guided them away from that life. Other than he was just a nice fucking guy. How many times he drove me home after a couple of nights of drinking or whatever. He was a friend. I hope people don't think I put that guy away. I had nothing to do with him doing that life thing. I did testify, and that they even asked me in court, has he ever told you to do something? And I said no, never. And he gave me one, and I'm like, yeah. There you go. Because he didn't. This was all about the gambling aspect.
Right.
He was a good guy.
So Bobby Glass is probably one of the nicer people. Who was just
An asshole?
A total vile person?
You know, a lot of people don't like Alley Boy Persico. I liked him.
You're talking about the
I used to
son
joke
or
around with him.
the son? You're talking about the son?
The son, yeah.
Okay.
He was really like didn't want to talk to you if he did. He wasn't, and he had a good point. Look, we're in a fucking pre-trial joint. Why should we be talking about anything in here? Let's not talk about it. It's high and goodbye. He had things on his mind. Of course, the government was always going after him. And people were like, who the fuck does he think he is? It wasn't that. It was just that we got along fine. But a lot of people, even Jackie sometimes was like, he wasn't like this outside on the streets or whatever. I said, Jackie, that's between you guys. I don't want to know about it. You know what I mean?
So he was kind of, and a bit of an arrogant guy, maybe?
Oh.
Because he was the son of Carmine, probably?
No, it wasn't an arrogance. It was like just standoffish kind of deal.
Right.
A lot of people felt Baldo was arrogant too.
Yes, I've actually heard that. In fact, we interviewed a guy, Chad Marks, who did time with Baldo, and he said that. He said he was.
He wasn't like that before he went to jail. And the pizza. When he came out, he became a little bit more of a like a bitter person.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. Right, when I was a kid, he was really nice, and you got to remember, he was like the third, fourth guy in that crew.
Right. Okay. Couple things before we go. I want to throw a couple pictures up. Tell me what you think of these people. First thought that enters your mind. We'll do this guy. What do you think of him? Any thoughts?
I don't. It's just like fucking. The next thing you know, it's gonna be a soap opera. Next.
Fair enough.
I like him.
You do?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
You ever have any run-ins with him?
Physically out there, no. Close ones at one time. Where we were going after him, but no. Jackie, yeah, I call him Don Wrinkles. Funny as hell. Funny.
You told me a story that he was a bit of.
He loves Jerry. He's a big Cherry Capisi fan.
Okay, really?
So,
he got delivered the gangland news. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he forgot where he was for his check, and he thought he forgot that he was in jail. I mean, and that's fine. It was fun. It was fun having him around. I mean, like he has like, I think 50 fucking grandkids or something, and he'll put his grandkid on the phone with me, listening to repeating the the Joe Pesci Christmas album or something like that. And the kid's cursing. He's like 6. Fucking grandpa and this and that, and he's having a ball, He forgot where he was, and it was funny. I would fuck with him as well. He would go for his pill line. So I'd go, come here, Ali, watch this. So I would yell, pill line, and he'd be sleeping. And he'll wake up looking for the pill line guy, and we'd be upstairs on the second tier watching, just going crazy. He was a little bit older. But he loved the Jerry Capisi. Fucking Ali hated it. How the fuck can you read that shit? You're kind of like telling him that this is gospel, and why we reading that crap? He didn't like mob books as well.
So
big into military books.
Jackie's still alive, 84 years old. He's inside still. Do you think he would watch YouTube if he could? Would he watch the mob channel?
Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely. He wouldn't miss one episode.
Do you think, let me ask you, because
he'd be like, this is how he talks. Look at that cocksucker. I knew him, that motherfucker. That's how he talks.
Let me ask you, do you think current guys watch YouTube? Or any of do you think they listen to any of this stuff?
Nah, I don't. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Okay.
I don't like it. I mean, no. I mean, and then there's that. There's one guy that I would. He wants mob content and he wants people to be on his show, mob guys. But then he tapes a guy and gives it to the Post. Right. Don't fuck with that guy no more. You see, everybody who has any kind of mob contact, stay away, run. Have nothing to do with that guy.
Do you want me to disclose who that individual is, or do you just want to leave that?
I don't want. He knows who he is.
Okay, so you're telling me
he knows who he is. It was in the Post about a week ago.
Yeah, okay, I think we know who you're talking about there.
If I could talk to all the guys that have any mob contact that are friends of mine, there's a lot of them. Don't fuck with that guy. Boycott him.
Right. Fair enough.
I mean, that's why I don't go on anybody's show.
Well, I thank you for coming on mine, nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? He tapes the guy and then fucking gives it to the. What kind of bullshit is that?
What about him?
Yeah, well, Vito, yeah. What do you, I think we covered him, no?
I mean, let me ask you this. The only thing I'll ask, do you think he lives up to the reputation that precedes him? Because you said, for instance, Bobby Glasses didn't. We think of him as this, kind of raving guy that did this murder and stuff, and that wasn't really him. He's portrayed Guzzo as this lunatic, right?
They kind of did not like each other. Bobby, so when they killed Ralphie, the kid that was 22 years old that we grew up with, he was around Bobby. I remember Bobby asking me, and this is the serious I've seen Bobby. Did you hear anything about Ralph? I said no. Of course I know. I was like, no. I like, no, didn't hear nothing. Goes, the people are saying about the Vito kid. I said, no, I don't know. So that was it. That died. And that was back then. Because Bobby had taken a real good liking into Ralphie.
Right. Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know this guy at all?
Yes.
TG.
Just like his daughter. You ever seen his daughter? Same thing.
Yeah, they look a lot alike. Actually.
Well, no, not only that, they act alike too.
Yeah,
there's guys that are in jail that just act like they're at the bar. And there's guys that get depressed. There's guys that don't want to. And I could do time like, okay, Alley Boy hates TG. They hated each other. And and they got into it. Something over tit for tat. And they put TG in our same unit. Allie comes and goes, "Oh, you're fucking here? Oh, we're gonna start this shit again." And it was over that Paciello kid. They had a beef over him.
Chris.
Yeah, and they after that they just didn't get along. That fucking guy. And then they finally TG got himself out of that unit because his son-in-law was in the unit next door. So he went. He wanted to be with his son-in-law.
And talking about Hector Pagan?
Huh? Yes, yeah, Junior.
He became
also my co-defendant, huh?
He became a rat, right?
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. You want to talk about nice guys? So he ends up getting rid of him. And Bally's looking out the door. He goes, "Good, they finally got fucking rid of him. I couldn't stand that motherfucker. He just couldn't stand being around him." He was like, "Oh fuck, what did I do to deserve this?" That kind of deal.
You're saying they're sitting there, and he just walks in. He goes, "You're fucking here."
Yeah, and he goes, "Come on, you're gonna start this shit again." He goes, "We're gonna go tit for tat." TG didn't back down, but he told him we're gonna go tit for tat, and he was like holding his head, like And Allie's in good shape compared to TG. TG just had heart he had cancer. He's like, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be interesting." TG, and then the politics start. We're going to the yard. You're with us, right? I'm like, TG, nothing happened. Calm the fuck down.
TG had one too many plates of pasta, probably, I think.
Oh, yeah. The best, then Ali almost got into it with Joe Massino. And I was the middle guy in that one, and I told him, no, calm the fuck down. We'll talk about it. So I was getting a visit, and there was a 2-hour visit at MDC. Now, there was a separation between both of them. They didn't put a separation on each other, Massino and Ali, but the government, how they fuck around. They don't want them to be seeing each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was legal. I don't know what the fuck the reason was, but they weren't allowed to be. So Ali Boy has a 2-hour visit that day, and Joe has a legal visit, and he uses that legal visit almost all of fucking Ali's time. Ali was gonna see his daughter. He gave him about 15 minutes left. Joe leaves. Ali comes down. I forgot who came to visit me at the time. It was so long time ago. And Ali goes, "You tell that fat motherfucker that fucking next time he has a fucking visit, I'm gonna have a legal visit and stay here fucking 2 hours as well. That fat motherfucker." I go, I went like this to him. "Okay, we'll talk about it upstairs. All right, we'll talk about because you don't want to get into that fucking mix right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. I'm in the mix between two fucking guys who run their family, and I'm an associate here. I'm going like this. So I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm gonna catch the fucking.
Right, because you're gonna take somebody's side, and it might be the right side.
I'm not gonna take nobody's side. I'm just gonna fucking make this. I'm not gonna say anything to fucking Joe, and we're gonna go upstairs and talk about this. We go upstairs. You know, he's my roommate. He's fucking livid. I mean, livid. That rat. He's there. Next time he comes to see that fucking wife of his, that rat sister, that mother. Talking about Sal Vitale, that rat sister. I'm gonna sit there. I go, calm the fuck down. I go, it's not worth it. You know, I don't know. Just you know, Frankie, I'm fucking mad. He goes, I go, I get it. Just. It's neither here nor there. Let's just stop, okay? I get it. I understand. And that's what made him calm down. I tell him that I understand, you know, because if I would have told him, God forbid, he was wrong, he would have went on all night. You know, and that was that. The politics of jail. A lot of politic in jail.
Sure.
A lot.
I've heard.
Yeah, a lot.
A fascinating life, Frank, nonetheless.
I don't know how fascinating it is what it is.
It's a lot different now, though, for the better.
Huh?
It's a lot better than the previous life, the one now you're in.
Oh, yeah. I don't think about things like that. I mean, thinking about it now, I didn't even have a life in the mob after that because I would have got sent to Italy. All right.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do there? Who the fuck knows me there? I mean, yeah, you know, even if I wanted to make a career out of it and still had that little light at the end of the tunnel, that'd be.
That would have been that. Right. Frank, a fascinating story, really. You cut out for a second. I didn't catch the last end of it. What'd you say?
I cut out too.
You got me now?
Yeah, no, well, I hear you a little bit.
Yeah, we're about to wrap it up. I just wanted to kind of tell the people you're kind of cutting down the interviews, not going to do anymore. You've done one or two here or there. You're actually working on some cool things that we're going to see you on here soon. Can you tell us anything about that?
Well, one's the National Geographic that I've been doing, the Narco Wars. We're gonna do an episode on season 3, and then I have another one on a Netflix series, and that's it. For a while, I'm not gonna give any interviews and not like that. That's it. I'm done.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with me. Nonetheless, you're an interesting guy, and you're pretty contrite, as I said, which I find to be honorable. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. No problem.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
You too. Yep. So there you go, guys. Frank Fiordilino, just a really interesting guy, a guy that has a story, a guy that I wanted him to tell his story. And he also threw in plenty of really interesting stories as well from other people and things that he saw. It's important that we remember that when we talk about history, we're talking about mob history. It's important we include everybody in that, whether we agree with their decisions or not. I didn't live Frank's life. Okay. I wasn't facing the same decisions that he did. He decided to go one way with his decision, and that was his alone. I appreciate him coming on and sharing his story nonetheless. Thanks as always for listening. If you enjoy the show, you enjoy the podcast, you enjoy us on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe as well. Thanks as always. We'll see you next time here on the Sit Down.